Hey everyone, welcome back to Take Flight Garage. In this video, we're going to be looking in depth into the Red Tiger FN7 4K dash cams that we've got installed in the 944. This is going to be a really broad overview video for you to get an idea of, do you want it or do you not for your car? And if you do, then the back half of this video will be me explaining how I installed it and don't have any wires hanging around or anything like that. So for starters, this is night in 4K, and the detail is pretty nuts. For the price, I think this camera is about $150. So the front cam is 4K, it's 2160p, and we'll switch to the rear cam right now, and you'll see the rear cam is a 1080p camera, but even in the low-level lighting through the tint, it looks fantastic. Like it's very easy to see, very clear to see. You can even see the detail on the glass itself. That's not water. That's actually, I had my car parked underneath a tree, and that's like the sap or whatever coming off of the tree because it's springtime. So, like, that's the level of detail that you can see in this camera. It's pretty impressive, to be honest with you. So when I saw footage of this, or like this is how I knew that, okay, this is what I want in my car, because it gets the job done, but it also sort of exceeds expectations, especially for that price point, because I don't think you'll see similar quality footage until you step up to the $200 or $300 price range. So in that regard, it's pretty impressive. Okay, so let's take a look at some day footage. The reason why I showed you the night footage first is because low-level lighting is what is most difficult to capture high detail in for these cameras. So I think that they did a fantastic job. So if you can get that out of the way first, then it's going to be obvious that the camera is really good during the day. So here's some crystal clear footage. Daytime driving, great view. Wide-angle lens is pretty good. Covers the entire front end of the car and a little bit off to the sides as well. So yeah, there's nothing much left to say about this. Again, this is just a real overview thing. Do you want this camera or not? And take a look at what my use case has been. So let's take a look at the rear camera real fast. Just one last clip. Again, this is another example of me almost getting hit. Some kids in a crosswalk, and this guy decided that he didn't give a shit and was just going to keep going. So, all right, that's the footage. Let's take a look at some other things. Okay, so let's talk about the only thing that I have a little bit of a gripe with this camera, and it's just really the interface when trying to access some of the footage. So real quick, let's go through here. I'll show you that on here, this does come with a SD card. I believe it's 64 gigabytes. That's already loaded in the camera. It's already formatted. So this is just plug and play. You can access it and ready to go. Every time you want to access footage, if you want to go through the camera itself, this is the menu that you have to come to. So that's pretty standard. I mean, every camera that you go through, you're going to have to deal with going through a menu and sourcing footage that way. But when you want to access stuff to save it, you're going to need the app. And again, this is if you don't want to remove the SD card every single time you want to retrieve footage. So you're going to have to download the app. The camera itself has a Wi-Fi setting. I'll take you to it, but I don't want to do it because when you enable it, it locks the camera up until the Wi-Fi is disengaged, and that basically means shutting the camera off. So you'd come into this setting and you would engage the Wi-Fi, connect it to your phone through its own Wi-Fi, and then log into the app, and all the footage will be there. And then you can pick and choose what clips you want to do. The only thing that sucks is, again, the camera needs to be powered, so you're gonna have to do this with the ignition on. So if you shut your car off, you're gonna have to restart it, let the camera reboot. So that's kind of annoying. You finally get there, load up the footage. The footage is gonna look great. It's gonna download pretty quickly. But keep in mind, it's in 1 minute clips. So every single time you're downloading stuff, you're now downloading a 1 minute clip that's going to eat up a lot of space on your phone. So just be conscious of that. And then you'll have to go through and whatever footage you want. You can save it to a local file so that it will be in the app after you've done all this stuff and it won't go away.
but it is just something to keep in mind. This whole process is basically just a little tedious, especially like for me and how I have it mounted in here. As a driver, I can't just, it's annoying. I can swing my head around this way and try to do it. It's just much easier to do this from the passenger side. But yeah, that's the only real gripe. It's like anytime you want to access footage without just popping the SD card out, loading it into a computer, downloading the files, clearing the SD card, and putting it back in, you have to come in here, turn your ignition on, turn the camera Wi-Fi on, make sure that you recognize it on your phone, log into the app, source through all the clips that you just took on that most recent drive, find what you want to save it to the app so that you can shut the car off and go inside your house, and then from there save that clip to your phone, which is gonna, you know, potentially eat up space on your phone. So it's just a whole kind of thing that's a little bit annoying. The idea for me is, well, my drive should be uneventful, right? So I shouldn't be worried about it. And it should just be one of those things where, you know, if something does happen, this is the process I have to go through. But it is something that you should be aware of. And so I figured it's important for you to know, and it's a good tidbit of information. It's my only gripe with this camera. If I had to go back and re-choose, would it stop me from ordering it? No, absolutely not. I'd still buy it again. That whole thing is still worth it for the image quality, the front rear camera, the ease of installation and use, and just the peace of mind that this thing gives, especially for 150 bucks. So there's my take. Okay, so we've taken a look at the image quality, and by now you've probably made up your mind as to whether or not you want one of these. So if you're in the camp that does want one, let's go ahead and talk about how I've installed it in this 86 Porsche 944 specifically. So 9 out of 10 times whenever you see these camera installations, I'm gonna put a light here, you'll basically have a wire hanging down somewhere, and it goes into your cigarette lighter plug. So in this car, you'd have to have the camera wire plugged into the cigarette lighter at all times, and that's just how it would work. The nice thing about the rear camera, I'll show you that here. That's where that's plugged in. The nice thing about the rear camera is that it gets all its power from this main plug here. So you can kind of tell. So this is the main power for the front camera, and that goes off to the right. And this camera I have routed down that side. So let's do a big loop around the car and show you how I have everything powered here so that it's all cleaned up and there's no wires drooping or hanging out, and it doesn't look bad. So starting our loop around this whole circuit, I loosen the screws for this top trim piece right here. So the way that you do that is the visor clips, it's kind of hard to tell. Visor clip screws, if you take this out, you can get this top piece to kind of sag just enough, because the way that the 944 is the windshield is glued directly in here. So there's no trim or channel. This is glue for the actual windshield. So it's really hard to sort of tuck these wires. But if you can droop this down enough and don't pull on it or yank on it, because you're going to crease it and crack it and bend it. So you just want it enough to tuck these wires in. And this is actually also how the backup camera is installed too. So all of that follows. The main power is all on this side of the car. So it's tucked up underneath this trim. It's brought here and brought right out from underneath there so that you never see it. This is the only loose part of the wire that you can see. And it's tucked up under the door seal here, which is also a little loose from when they did the tint, but ran back through there and goes through the back of the car. And the main power for the rear camera follows the same route, goes there underneath the dash, tucked underneath this trim, and then that goes all the way to the back rear quarter of the car. So let's head back there and show you how everything is tucked in neatly. So here we are in the rear of the car, and I'll just give you a nice shot of how everything looks from back here. Again, nothing weird is hanging down or drooping or bunched up. I really wanted to be understated in a way. I didn't want wires dangling down just looking ugly. So because when I take this thing to shows, I want people to focus on the car, you know. And when you're driving, if you're OCD like a lot of us Porsche guys are, you already know how that goes. We don't want crap hanging down on our face. So I'll give you a quick refresher in case you didn't see the backup camera install video. But Long story short, I disconnected my cruise control. I have no intent of using it. I don't trust 40-year-old cruise control, period. I don't trust cruise control, period. I am my own cruise control. So with there being no use for that, I disconnected the plugs there. I tapped into a 12-volt switched ignition on one of the pins. Again, you can see that a little bit more in depth in the backup camera install video. But the reason why I'm telling you that is because this is all tied into, this is essentially how I made the backup camera work, where I picked up one of these car USB power hubs from Walmart. And this is powered off of that 12-volt switch ignition. It's grounded to the chassis ground in the back where all the taillights are grounded. That little guy right there, you can see where a lot of this stuff still needs a little work, but I've been busy. So what we essentially did is replicated that exact same thing on this side, tapped into that same 12-volt switch power from the cruise control pin underneath the dash. And that powers both of these USB hubs. One is for the rear camera and the other one is for the backup camera. In fact, you can see this is the wireless signal box for the backup camera to go to the mirror. And that's all it is, just 12-volt switch ignition, powering these boxes. These boxes are, for lack of a better way to explain it, attached to the fender wall pockets here, so they don't take up any room. They're covered by the carpet, so you don't see them, and everything is just tucked under all of this trim going all the way forward. And that's how it is for the rear camera. The rear camera is the only thing that goes up underneath this top trim and comes back and under down this way to go forward. And again, you can kind of tell right here. So the added bonus of doing this is, well, now I have like 5 USB ports back here if I ever want to use other stuff. But that's really it. There's no tapping into fuses that I did. It's the cruise control. It's already a fused circuit. It's just really a matter of taking your time, being careful with 40-year-old trim, and tucking it up that way. If you have a more modern car, then I suggest finding something that you can tap into, and hopefully it won't be too intrusive. But I think for that, for the overall result here, I really can't complain. I have a little bit more work to do on that side. It's a little bit harder because the VIN plate is tapped underneath the windshield. But when you are at a show and you're looking at the car, or in the real world, it doesn't look like there's 7,000 bits of technology glued into the windshield. It just looks like a modern mirror, and hey, the guy's got a camera mounted up there too. So with the tint, during the day, it's pretty much impossible to see the rear camera. Let me go ahead and close the hatch real fast with these 2 hands. Yeah, you pretty much can't see that rear camera. But I will say this, it's actually kind of nice. At night, you can see the screen for the front camera. So if someone's behind me, they know that they're being recorded. And that's kind of what I want. I don't want to discreetly record people. I want them to see that there's a camera in my car, so that hopefully it motivates them to not drive like shit, for lack of a better word. So hopefully if they see the camera, they go, okay, well, obviously, if I do something dumb, it's going to be caught on film. And there's no real way to get out of that. So from there, it's just up to me to handle my own driving. But yeah, there you go. So again, this is the Red Tiger, the FN7. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I think it's my favorite thing about this unit overall is how just small it is. Again, it's not a huge giant camera sticking out of the glass. It's a nice small discreet unit. And I really don't have anything else to say other than I like it. It's one of those few things where you just buy it real quick off Amazon and you hope that it works out, and this is one of those things that really worked out. So take it from me and my experiences with it so far. I'm super happy with it.
And I'll leave a link for you guys down below. It will be an affiliate link. So if you choose to buy the camera and use that link, it'll send a little bit of a kickback to the channel. And if you do get one of these, currently I'm only a sample size of one. So come back and leave a comment after you've installed one and let us know how your experience has been with it. This is kind of my view while I'm driving. I don't even see it. So, well, that's as far as I'm going to go for the installation. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this video valuable, and I'll see you guys in the next one.